views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the hosts and guests, and not necessarily those of the staff and management of WWDB-TV.
There's something happening here, but what it is ain't exactly clear. There's a man with a gun over there, telling me I got to beware. I think it's time we stop, children. What's that sound? Everybody look what's going down.
Well, welcome back this week, everybody, to WTF America, and we all know what this stands for. I'm John Stiles, and to my left is...
Bianca, and I have no idea why I'm here.
We don't either. So.
I'm Dirk Thomas. Today our guest is going to be my son, full disclaimer.
Oh, wait, this is your son?
This is my son.
Oh.
Alex Falconi. He is the administrator for the Our Nevada Judges website. And could you tell us a little bit about that?
So the website Our Nevada Judges was created when I was representing myself through the family court system. Started back in 2008, and throughout the process I started to realize judges make mistakes. I won 4 different appeals to the Supreme Court of Nevada. After winning the 4 different appeals, I became curious if there was any statistics on how often judges are reversed on appeal. And I was shocked to find out that there weren't any. So I decided at that point...
There weren't any statistics on it?
There weren't any statistics, no.
You're not saying that there weren't any reversals, you're saying...
Oh, no, there were plenty of orders reversing.
That's what I just wanted to clarify that, so
the thing that shocked me was that there wasn't any repository or database that kept track of how often specific judges were overturned on appeal. So once I realized nobody had created this program or this system and the government wasn't tracking it, I went ahead and created it myself. So being a computer science and engineering major at UNR, it wasn't a very difficult thing to do. And once I launched the site, I was surprised to see how much communication I was getting from litigants, mainly in Clark County, which was a little unexpected for me since I was a Washoe County resident at that time. Now I reside in Henderson. But anyway, the site has kind of taken off, and it's been open since, as I mentioned, 2014. And at this point, I have gone to the point where I was invited recently to the Judicial Mixer. I've had lunches with some judges here and there, and I've also expanded into 3 other states. So
you said you've had lunch with some of the judges, or been invited to lunch with some of the judges?
Yeah, that's correct. That's true.
So has that influenced anything? I mean, is this just raw data? I mean, I've been to the site, but a lot of people haven't. So is this, you're just presenting raw data? You're not presenting any kind of opinions or...
Correct. Yeah. One of the things I realized at the time that I created the site was that there were already a lot of websites out there that allowed people to submit reviews on judges, and they had virtually no impact. And so I decided that this site, if it was going to be taken seriously, it was going to be pure information, statistical data.
Okay,
so
pure information.
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
The best part of this is that by using just pure data, you're telling a story, you're talking about judges and their jobs.
Right.
But you're being totally honest and fair and impartial.
Right, it's not an
So
opinion.
they can't, so a lot of judges have actually gotten ticked off at him for some of the things that he's put on the, but it's what they did.
Right.
It's purely their words, their actions, what they did. They got reversed, and they're pissed off at him because now this stuff is getting to see the light of day. I have to tell you that based on what I've seen and some of the people I've talked to, he's literally having an effect on the judges and their actions in this state, because now they know they can't just go and make some willy-nilly decision, because at some point, if it gets overturned, that shit's going to show up.
Yeah, they're being accountable.
Yes, they're being held accountable.
Right, and if they didn't care, they wouldn't contact me and ask me to make adjustments and changes to the site and stuff. So I'm getting communications from the judiciary, also from attorneys, and also from citizens, and that just speaks for itself as to the relevance of the site and the data. And they always become concerned when it gets close to the election.
What kind of changes are they asking that you make? Are they asking you to change the data or the format or the presentation?
There are a lot of policy decisions that I have to make with regards to how certain dispositions in the Supreme Court are counted on the website. For example, one of the biggest debates is on decisions that are affirmed in part and reversed in part, and so there's been a lot of argument as to how that should count on the site. And then they do also bring some good points to me, like there's some decisions that used to come up as an error. They're called confessions of error. Then that occurs not because the judge was wrong, but because one of the parties to the appeal didn't respond. So I've changed certain things when they're correct. Other things, I discuss with the other administrators, I discuss with staff and stuff. And it's nothing like, hey, I'm your friend, take these off. It's nothing like that.
Right.
It's, another one was sometimes there's what I call mini judges, unelected hired judges, masters, domestic masters, commissioners. They make mistakes, and then I've had questions, should we, not count that against me? It's not my fault, and that one I still count against the judge for technical reasons. I don't want to get too technical on the show unless you want me to, but that's kind of the feedback that I get.
I just want to be sure. I mean, when I first went to the website, I was like, whoa. I mean, the information that's there is phenomenal. It's not, and that's what impressed me, is it's not, I went to the court and here's what I saw.
Right, that's ineffective. It doesn't work.
So there is a certain bias or opinion to that, and what I saw of the information on your site was, hey, the count's 3 and 2. There's 12 out, there runs, and that's it. This is the information that is out there for everybody that wants to see.
Right.
You can get as technical as you want. The thing is that I want you to get as technical to the level that you think that the average citizen that would help them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where do you see more reversals, like district court or family court?
So the family division is a division of the district court, and they definitely do have more decisions overturned on appeal. I think that the reason is because very few litigants in that division file appeals. And so it has a twofold effect. The first is that nobody is scrutinizing those judges, so they don't get very much feedback from the appellate court. So the other, so the ordinary division, which handles civil and criminal cases, they get appealed all the time. And so they get so much feedback from the Supreme Court they can adjust. And the family judges don't get that just because not enough people challenge their decisions. Then there's also the second part of that, which is if nobody's really checking up on you, how do you even know you're doing anything wrong? If you're not getting feedback from your boss, which is in this case the Supreme Court of Nevada, saying you're making mistakes, then oftentimes to them it can feel like they're doing their job correctly. The only complaints they're getting are from litigants, which people are going to say are disgruntled. So I think it's the lack of appellate oversight is, I think, the main cause.
And so how can that be corrected, or do you have a theory about that?
I think that best way to correct it is to have, quite frankly, the judges that are incompetent ousted. I think the voters should take a look at the judges.
But who decides if they're incompetent? And that
would come up.
That goes to my question.
Well, there's two ways. One is through the Commission on Judicial Discipline, and to their credit, they recently released a decision against District Judge Rena Hughes, and I'm not going to go into the whole case, but I did notice when that was appealed, the commission themselves cited numerous mistakes that she'd made in prior cases. So on the one hand, it appears they may be using the data from the site, because I don't know how else they're going to find that. Unless they're going to check through each case manually, which would take them forever. Yeah. And then the other side of that coin is the voters. And I've always been a believer that the government may be good at choosing people for appointments, and that's a big may. But what they're really not good at is removing people. Right. And for that, I think the citizens do a better job during elections. Even though people complain that they're uneducated or they don't have information, I'm trying to provide them that information so they can decide themselves if they think this judge is a screw-up or a good judge. And
so the only people or the only judges that are on your site, and I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to word this correctly. Anybody that's running to become a judge, you have no information on. So you're not. All you're doing is quantifying the stats on sitting judges.
And that's unfortunately all I can do.
Right, and
because
that's where I
candidates,
was going with that. So.
And so some voters might decide, you know, this judge has a terrible error rate, but some of these articles on what they do with kids is good, and the candidate doesn't look so good. Other voters may decide, if I messed up this much, you know, on a car, I'm a mechanic, I'd be fired, so I'm going to fire. It's up to it's ultimately the data is being provided.
Right.
It's up to the voter what they think is too much or too little. And of course, there's some comparative analysis that might go into there. Some voters might check other judges out and see they only have error rates of 15 or 20%. Why does this one have one of 50%?
Right.
So
Are there judges with rates that high?
Yeah,
oh,
no,
yeah,
that was
are.
my question.
Yeah, there are.
Oh, yeah.
I call them coin toss judges. You flip a coin, half the time they're wrong.
Holy crap! So 50% of what they're giving out on the bench is
wrong. Yeah, it's wrong. Yeah.
And how is that? How do we know that? How is that challenged?
Well, it's challenged by this. It's taken up on appeal. I'm not the one saying they're wrong.
And that's where I was going with that.
Right.
So, and because you were saying that there's not as many appeals in the family court system as there is in the judicial and the district court.
Right.
So, and is that because the litigants are not aware?
Most litigants, number one, are not aware. Number two, cannot afford it. And number three, most of the attorneys that operate within the family law system do not favor appeals, so they specifically advise, they either do not mention it to their clients, or they specifically tell their clients, this is a joke, it doesn't work, it's a waste of your money. So it's a combination of not enough money, bad advice, and just flat out not even being told. That this is one of the things that I've noticed over the past 6 years.
Plus, a lot of them get really frustrated by the length of time. It just goes on and on and on and on. They just want something, so it's over.
Well, that's another problem, because in the family division, there are specific rules that require these cases to move quickly. But the problem is, most of the attorneys who take their litigants through that system prefer an approach where they kind of meander or wander aimlessly through the proceedings, and they delay it on purpose. I'm not going to say it's because it increases the litigation expenses, because by avoiding discovery and trial, that does decrease litigation. But what it doesn't do is it doesn't let the client actually get a final decision, and in a way it coerces settlement, because the attitude is kind of, let's just take another status, let's just do another review, do another status, and what they're hoping is that the litigants just say, we're sick and tired of it, it's taking too long, let's just come to a deal. And that's not really conducive to justice, because they're not actually getting a decision, and it also sometimes harms the child, because in some situations where child needs protection, they need that case to get to trial as quickly as possible. So what happens oftentimes is they play out of bounds. There's these boundaries that you're supposed to operate in, and they play out of those boundaries, and so that's where a lot of the frustration comes in. Everyone feels like the system it's a joke, it's not actually, they don't care about me, and then of course you evade appellate review, because in the end, if you settle, there is no appeal.
Right.
So this is all something that I think happens it's kind of just the way water kind of goes in one direction down a slope, and I think over time, the lawyers, the way that the clients expect the system to work, and the judges, it's just become the way that it works.
Okay.
And so there's all of these factors that cause there to be less review than there would be ordinarily.
How do we correct that? And when I say we, I'm talking about we, the voters. What can we do to turn that around?
Well, it starts from the top down. So if there were problems with the Supreme Court and Court of Appeals, I would say that's the first point that we should attack. But I think that they are doing a phenomenal job. So what we need to do is have their will imposed on the lower judges. The Supreme Court justices and the Court of Appeals, they have been rendering decision after decision that is consistent with the child's best interests, that hammers judges that are incompetent. I don't know if you've seen the recent decision that came out where Justice Hardesty blasted a district judge, Douglas Smith, for all of his mistakes. He had a footnote about 8/10 of the page long that had a list of all of his mistakes. So they're in the right direction. They're blasting attorneys, they're sanctioning judges when appropriate. So what we need is now the trial judges at the lower level to comply with the Supreme Court and Court of Appeals opinions and decisions, and if they don't, then we need to oust them. Once those judges are removed and replaced, hopefully the new judges will all be on the same page and start to sanction and punish attorneys. I don't know if you saw, there was another case recently where an attorney asked a judge to sanction another attorney for not following the rules and the law, for what they call abusive litigation practices. Right. And it went to the Supreme Court, and they said, The judge didn't make a ruling on this. Reversed, sent it back and said, you need to make a ruling on this. This law mandates that this lawyer is punished. I can find these cases and reference them to you if you need. But we start from the top down as voters. And if we have a good Supreme Court and Court of Appeals, we take a look at the next level and make the corrections that need to be made.
Is there a certain percentage of reversals or anything where a judge will specifically start being looked at?
Well, because this has just started happening, if you would have asked me prior to 2018, I'd say no. But it looks like now they do care. I've talked already about Hughes. I don't know if you've heard about Judge David Hunke in Reno. He was the first judge that, in my opinion, has been removed for incompetence. So take a look at the David Humke case. The Commission on Judicial Discipline removed him from the bench for incompetence. I've never seen that before. Usually they remove judges for obvious things like alcoholic, sex with litigants, corruption, crimes, in-your-face, obvious things. This is the first time I've seen them say, this judge isn't doing his job right, and they removed him. So it's starting, it appears to be happening now. Well, it's working,
yeah. And you had mentioned kids, and the reason I'm bringing this up is seeing in the news all of these migrant children that are, 1-year-old, 2-year-old, 5-year-old, 6 months old, that are appearing before these judges with no representation whatsoever. Well, I mean, they're given a set of headphones and that's it.
Well, that goes.
Is that what's going on?
Yes, and this is. I
mean, in our family court system right now.
I believe it's a federal immigration court thing.
Okay.
In our family courts, we have something called the Child Attorney Project. And so children who are in certain proceedings, not all, typically dependency proceedings, abuse and neglect cases, they will get a free attorney.
Okay.
And I work with them because I'm a court-appointed special advocate for abused and neglected children. So I know one CAP attorney who does an amazing job. He's a great guy.
Can you expound on that? What is it? You are a what now?
So a court-appointed special advocate appears in proceedings involving foster children, and the point of the advocate is to be a sort of counterbalance to all of the state actors in the case. So what I mean by that is the CAP attorney, the Department of Family Services, the district attorney. There's all of these entities that are connected to the government that speak on behalf of the child. But what they realized was there is sometimes a control of information when this happens, when you don't have somebody who's not connected to the system to come in and speak to the judge. And so there are situations where children aren't, having their best interests served because the judge is not being provided all the information because the department won't provide it because it's inconvenient. Maybe it'll lead to another conclusion that they don't find. I mean, it's complicated. It's not like it's just pure evil. It's just people are trying to do a job. It's a paycheck, and they sort of gravitate to certain ways that they handle things. That's how systems work. So they created a statute to allow the court to appoint advocates for these children, and I'm one of them. And we're unpaid, and we are not under the thumb or under the control of any of these other entities. So we report directly to the judge. So, for example,
what are the requirements?
You have to go through extensive training.
Okay.
Yeah, and you have to pass background checks.
So,
Yeah.
as far besides not getting paid, what's the difference between your job and a guardian ad litem?
Well, an ordinary guardian ad litem, because CASAs, I am a guardian ad litem, but most of the time when people think of GALs, they think of people who are paid, like psychologists, psychiatrists. So the difference is we're not paid. We don't have an interest financially or in the system itself because we don't work for them. They can't cut us off or say we're not going to let the child go to you for services anymore. We're not going to ask the judge to appoint you. They can't do anything like that to us because CASA chooses which one of us is to be appointed based on a judge's order. A judge will say, I'm ordering a CASA on this case, and then the CASA Foundation, the CASA Foundation is the money arm of it. They do the money donations. The CASA organization then will pick one of us and put us on the case. And it's a way to stay disconnected from the system, provide unbiased information, and help the child. And we also have more contact with the child too. So we see the child much more frequently than the CAP attorney does or the DFS worker.
And I have to stress how important they are because I've gone to, his wife is also one, and those people are highly intelligent, highly motivated. They're fierce when it comes to those kids.
Yeah, we're pretty aggressive, and we don't have anything to fear.
Yeah, they're not intimidated by
Yeah,
anybody.
that's-
What are they
They're
gonna
not
do to
intimidated
us?
by judges,
Yeah.
by
Yeah.
attorneys.
What are they going to do to you? Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
And we also have a tremendous level of credibility and clout in front of most of the judges who are aware of who we are. I've seen some frustrating situations with brand new judges who get put on the bench and they're informed what a CASA is. But most of the judges do have a lot of respect for what we do, and they listen to us. And it's very, very different from when a parent makes an argument, or a parent's attorney makes an argument, versus when
Well, they have a
one of
vested
us.
interest.
Exactly.
In
Right.
regardless of what way any the case goes.
Exactly.
And you don't, other than the child's best interest.
Correct. Yeah.
So let me ask this question: Is it feasible? Is it possible that every case involving children in the family court system be appointed a CASA?
It's infeasible at this time, and the reason why is because even okay, so there's a statute that orders or requires all children in the foster care system to have a CASA.
Right.
So it's a mandate by law, and we're short. We're not even close.
Gotcha.
So the children in the foster care system do not all have CASAs. So we actually used to be appointed to family court cases. I don't remember how far back this used to occur, but District Judge Frank Sullivan eventually sat down with all the judges in the family division and said, you need to stop appointing people to these divorce and child custody actions because we don't have enough CASAs for the foster system anymore.
Can one of the litigants, or one of the parents, or a family member request? Come
yes,
to you and say, hey, look, we really need one of you guys to come over here and look out for the best interest of the child, because I'm afraid that's not what's happening.
So the litigants can and do approach the CASA organization. And
If they know that you exist.
Right. But what ends up happening in those cases is even if the judge enters an order, it's just not complied with. What will happen is CASA will get the order, and it'll say, I'm ordering CASA on this case, and they'll just ignore it because they have a stack of orders of these kids in the foster system that need one, and there is no statute mandating a CASA in a divorce or child custody action. We can do it, but it's not mandated.
Technically,
but
they're
there
not
is a
ignoring it. They're
statute.
prioritizing their.
Yeah.
Well,
right.
they're ignoring it because they have no. They don't want. It's not out of malice. It's just
Right.
they don't have enough of us, so we can't be put on those cases
put
anymore.
everywhere
We
all
used
the
to be on those cases. I've
So
heard
you
about
need
it.
some more volunteers.
The CASA Foundation or the CASA organization is constantly looking for more volunteers. Yeah.
And where can people go if they're interested, or know someone, or think they might be wanting to do something like that?
They have a website. I think it's casalasvegas.org. If you Google Casa Las Vegas, you'll find it. It jumps right out at you.
Okay.
What are the requirements?
You have to go through extensive training.
Sorry, I know you said this. Sorry.
I think it's like 48 hours of training. And then they'll check your background. Then they're also going to sit down and interview you. You get interviewed by panel to make sure that you're not, like a crazy person or something. They want to see that you have people skills and social, stuff like that. And that's basically it, yeah.
So no degree, no schooling specifically?
No, the training, it will actually go over child psychology issues, yellow flags, red flags, types of issues with certain parents. The training goes through all of that. One of the things that there's already too much of a shortage. So if we had an overabundance of CASAs, they'd probably create those requirements.
Right.
You need to have a degree in this and this and this. But because there's such a shortage, it's.
So you're not focusing on law or anything?
No, I'm a software engineer.
So you're focusing on the children's best interest.
That's what that's what we do. Yeah.
Have you? I'm sure that the organization already has, but reaching out to UNLV or CSN or some of the learning institutions here to recruit. Is there any active?
Very
stuff
active.
going on there?
Okay, so even though the volunteers, we aren't paid, we're the ones that are appointed to the child.
Right.
The staff that actually operate the CASA group or CASA, I can't keep calling it foundation. I'm trying to avoid that because we have a separate foundation that's just pure money.
One is just to keep
just
the
money.
organization
Right.
alive. Right. I understand
They
that.
have staff members who actively go out and do all those things, and they do a great job. They're amazing. They're just hard to get volunteers.
I think that'd be somebody that would be a great guest for our show. If you have someone, if they're interested in coming in and talking about the CASA program and volunteering and happy to do that, if you'll put us in touch with somebody, we'll reach out to them and see if they'd like to
Okay.
come on.
Yeah, I'll send them an email.
Okay.
I think one of the biggest issues that a lot of people don't understand, even if you want to do a job like this, the emotional toll is rough.
Yeah.
And seeing what the system does and how the system works and how sometimes it grinds up these kids and how the parents are doing the stuff that they do, it can really be emotionally painful for a lot of people. And the amount of time that you have to put in. You have to put in as much time, I mean, obviously, as you have, but...
I'm going to sneak out for a minute. You guys go ahead.
Sure.
Okay. So, that can be rough.
But you feel that the judges, like not the new judges, but the judges who've been working with you guys for quite a while, take your
they
word
definitely
into account a lot?
They absolutely. I've seen it happen before with a department that didn't want a child to go and spend time with friends, a department that didn't want the child to be placed in a home that I frankly felt was a home that would give the child love and affection. Sometimes the department becomes focused on other things like safety and discipline. And as a CASA, sometimes we have to remind the department that, okay, you know, if this child is having behavioral issues, maybe you should take away electronics. You don't want to take away pro-social behaviors because that's kind of who their new family is while they're in the system, especially if they're in a group home or something like that. I'm being vague on purpose because I can't go into specific cases. It's against the rules. But the judge has sided with me over and over again. The trouble I've had is with brand new judges, and even then, thinking on those experiences, over time they start to figure it out. So it's 100% makes an impact. Every foster child should have one. I've been doing it for 2 years, and it works. It absolutely does work.
I have some friends that got into the foster care program as parents. They
I don't
wanted,
have friends.
well, acquaintances.
Okay.
I say that's news to me.
Yeah. So they became foster parents. They went through the system, you know, all the classes that they had to go. And the first 2 kids that they got were sisters, and they just fell in love immediately. They ended up adopting them, and that was, almost 6 or 7 years ago. And they had 2 other siblings that were in other foster families, plus the grandparents on both sides, and they are very active in the child's life. You know, they get together all the time with the other siblings. They have them over for sleepovers and things like that. But I had them on the show for I was really fortunate. These people, I knew them. I saw what they were going through, and they asked me to document that process. When they went into court for the actual ceremony. You know, I got to film that.
That's good.
They cannot say enough about the foster care system here on how much help they received. Sorry. These 2 little girls could have ended up in the system and just ruined, and they are growing into such beautiful human beings, you know, so.
Do you know a lot about our state compared with others?
Well, I didn't originally, but when I started to expand into other states, I started to see some alarming things, specifically from Massachusetts and New Hampshire. I thought Nevada was pretty bad, but there's worse ones out there. And
what actually got you started
That's
into?
not really good.
Yeah. What actually
What a
got
glowing
you?
recommendation.
What actually got you started thinking about expanding into other states? I mean,
Well,
did somebody contact you, or?
Yes, through my YouTube. I have a separate YouTube where I try to help people represent themselves and stuff like that in court. I say stuff like that because it doesn't just do that, but that's most of the viewers come for representing themselves in family court. Does a few other things, and after year after year, people became more interested, more curious, and so I finally came to a point where I decided, okay, the Nevada model's working, and the day I decided that, I've been watching hearing videos in Nevada for probably 3 years, and I started to see over the last 8 to 9 months, judges were talking about appeals being corrected on appeal and legal mistakes, which I had never seen before. And I decided, okay, this seems to be working, let's expand this. So
So are you able to travel for that?
No, I don't. What I do is I did a video on YouTube, and I said if anyone's interested in one of these other states that wants to try and, administrate one of these sites, let me know. And so I had quite a few people reach out. I chose 3 for Arizona, Oregon, and Indiana, and so far they're doing a great job. Their sites are up right now. They're live, but they don't have all the data. It's going to take time. It takes years to mine this data.
Oh, yeah.
And then, I've got another 7 getting ready to go next month, or this month actually. And so I don't have to travel because I have people who volunteer that want to do it. The family court system alienates a lot of citizens. It provides plenty of volunteers for me.
So is that the main focus?
Well, it just happens to be coincidental that without volunteers and help, it's just not going to go anywhere. I can't do all this work by myself. So coincidentally, the family court system happens to be the one that drives most of the communication to me.
But I want to make it clear that, because a lot of people would say, well, get these disgruntled people from family court and they get involved. He has a very high vetting system. So the people, this is not about your personal opinion and how you feel about judges. This is about picking data and putting factual information into this website.
Wait, did you say facts?
Yeah, I don't.
I know it's un-American nowadays. But
I don't get random people without checking into it, of course. Yeah, and the site that the site I've written, and it doesn't allow for other things to be added to it. So it's not like they could go in there and start adding reviews and stuff like that.
Right, and be like, this was overturned. Also, he's an asshole.
Yeah, so basically, all you can do is fill in the blanks.
Right.
I mean, from their perspective, you just fill in the blanks, and that's it.
Yeah.
So. And that's a great way to do it, man.
It works. I always tell people, efficacy is number 1. I mean, why would you want to say all these crazy things and nobody listens to you? What's the point?
Have you gotten any of the judges coming to you and saying, "This is awesome"?
Yes.
We
in fact,
love this. Thank you very much.
Yes,
Keep doing it.
Yes. In fact, the best feedback I've gotten, I would have expected to be from the lower judges, but it was from the Supreme Court. So 2 justices of the Supreme Court have specifically told me that they love it.
Oh, who is it?
I'm not going to mention that, but I was surprised. I went to the mixer even, and I expected to have a lot more.
And of course, you're talking about the Nevada Supreme Court.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Just want to clarify that.
Oh, right. Yeah. Not SCOTUS. Yeah.
Yeah, but when you think about it, you're actually making their job easier for them.
No kidding.
And it's also magnifying their effect too, because I think maybe a lot of times judges just kind of ignored them. Not all of them, but some of them. We just say, who cares? It's been reversed. I'll fix it now. No one's going to know anyway.
Right.
But now they might feel like people are actually paying attention to and caring what they have to say, about what they have to say. So
I just think it's interesting that the people who volunteer most are from family court.
Yeah. When people are going to do something for free, there's typically a very strong emotional drive to do it. And most of the people who are emotional and angry are the ones that go through that system. Do
you think it's, I don't know. I don't know. I think it's interesting. I don't know if I'm very surprised, but do you think maybe it's because more people get represented by the district attorney in criminal cases, or?
Perhaps. I mean, well, not the district attorney. It would be a public defender.
Oh no, I mean, well,
yeah, and then
depending on which side you're on.
That's true.
I've been with the district attorney. I've never needed a public defender.
I think most of the public that does go through the court system is going through it in small claims cases or in family cases. And I'm talking about, let me clarify, most of the public who represents themselves is going through those 2 types of situations. When it comes to large problems that occur, an average person doesn't want to represent themselves in a formal district court action. They'll do it in small claims sometimes, and even then a lot of people won't bother. But they'll almost always, or most of the time, do it for family, for their kids. And so these are the citizens. Most of the citizens who represent themselves go through the family court system because it's worth it to them. And so most of the people who make contact with the system and become angry, enraged, or alienated by it happen to be family court litigants.
And do you have every judge in Nevada on your website?
Yes, as of
every single one of them.
Yes, as of 5 months ago.
Wow.
I have every single judge going back to 1864. Every single one as of 5 months ago.
Oh, so this isn't just current. This is Every judge that's ever sat on the bench here in Nevada.
Since
Holy
1864.
crap!
Yeah,
I didn't realize it was that far back.
and it
I'm his dad, and I didn't even know that.
and I also have all of the candidates to every judicial race going back to 1864.
Whoa!
Yeah, there is.
So do then with the upcoming election, you are going to have those candidates. But how are you ranking them if they have never been a judge or?
So candidates who have never been a judge, the only thing we can track are articles and endorsements and achievements. Endorsements are, organizations who
Right.
endorse them. Achievements are things like if they got a degree, but more importantly, if they've done scholarly writings. And then articles is just I just pull all the articles from the news.
Gotcha.
So do you just have links to those things?
Yeah, they're all on the site.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And those are not automated, so I struggle to get all of those. The candidates who send them to me have their profiles fleshed out. The ones who don't, I just do a really quick cursory glance and
Yeah.
put in there what I can.
Okay, but if they are a current candidate and they're already sitting on the bench, you've got them.
Yeah,
You
they've got all of
yeah.
the mistakes are all being tracked. So
Right.
there's I'm trying to get 2 more types of judges right now. The information on them is really difficult to find because they're based on city. So the justices of the peace and the municipal judges, I'm still trying to get information on. And
Okay.
it's very difficult because there's no single repository of that information.
Gotcha.
Each city has their own little chunk of data.
Oh, man.
So it's a mess. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that if there was a central depository for that information, it might change? It might change some of how these judges do their job.
Absolutely. 100% for sure, because it's already impacting the district judges.
Okay.
Like I'm seeing it, it matters. It's already making an impact for the district judges. The justices of the peace and the municipal judges aren't being tracked. So presumably, if we start tracking them too, they'll start changing too.
Gotcha.
And one of the things I've noticed is you'll see more garbage the lower you go. So if the higher you go, so Supreme Court of Nevada, Court of Appeals, you get treated with the most respect. All of your arguments are listened to carefully, and you get a decision. The lower you go, the worse that gets. I've seen trends. District Court, it gets a little bit worse. Justice Court, you see all kinds of random stuff. And then when you go even below that, so to like tribunals, administrative tribunals and stuff, the lower you go, the worse it gets. And I think that's just because there's less scrutiny the lower you go. And the thing that's unfortunate is the average citizen, the regular person, is not going to be in the Supreme Court. They're usually going to be interacting with unemployment appeals hearings
Right.
and workers, what do they call it? The labor commissioner, those
Right.
types of things. They're not going to be in district court or on
What
appeal.
about arbitrators?
Arbitrators, I don't really know much about. You mean private ones, or do you mean the court annexed one? Because there's
No. I'm saying like in some contracts, if we can't come to some kind of an agreement,
Oh, yeah.
rather than go to court, we will go before an arbitrator.
yeah, I have almost no information on that. I've never gone through it personally.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I'm not surprised. I mean, shit, what you got already is horrendous. I mean,
Yeah.
that's huge.
Yeah, if the people just knew. You know what's also disappointing is that there's always these arguments about the voters not knowing what they're doing, they're uneducated.
That's
So we
my
should just
argument.
start appointing people.
Right.
And it's like, well, wait, maybe we should give them the information. Has anyone ever thought of that?
That's
It's like, let's not give them the information and then accuse them of not knowing anything and then take away their right to vote.
but we were having a conversation before the show about and send your cards and letters to WWDBTV. Americans are lazy.
That's
They don't
another.
want to read this shit. Just tell me. You tell me tell me who I should vote for.
Yeah,
You
and
know?
that's one of the.
I don't want to go in there and do all of this. That's too time consuming, man.
Yeah.
Don't even tell me who to vote for because I just want to push one button.
Yeah. So all I have to do is register with one of the parties.
Right.
And then all I have to do is go in there and go.
I'm not going to take the
Yeah, let's
time
not-
to
yeah.
push all of those buttons. Just
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I focused on user experience, making it as easy as possible.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of people don't want to Google, even Googling around, it's annoying to them. So to try and put it all in one place and make it as simple as possible.
So if just for the sake of argument, I've got 6 judges in my that have choices of. In other words, it's 6 positions. And can I go to your site and look up each one of these judges by name
Yes.
and say, okay, and then see what their record is like?
Yeah, not only can you do that, but there's even an election page itself, which you can go to, and you'll see all the candidates right there.
See, you're getting it.
You know,
You're making it.
It is.
All they have to do is push one button, and then.
It's, on the one hand, it is annoying because people should want to spend some more time and do research. But on the other hand, as an engineer, they teach us to cater to the customer, cater to the.
Sure.
So if
Least
that's
common
what
denominator.
if that's what they want, give them what they want.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't just say you should do this, you're not doing what's best. You know, so. Here, I'm going to make the system the way you should do things. Then people aren't going to go. They're not going to pay attention to the site. They're going to ignore it.
Right.
So you make it the way you know.
No,
they want it. Yeah.
I agree with you. I think that's a good.
I will say this, in all my years, I found that if you actually give people information and you pique their interest, they'll try to find out more.
And that's
God,
true.
I wish I could agree with you guys.
No, but sometimes you have to slap them upside the head.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people,
Right.
they want you to tell them everything so they can go and push that one button.
Right.
But there's a growing number of people that if they say something and you give them some information and you show them where they find that information and they look it up, especially something like this where there's no, this is not somebody's opinion writing something. This is what actually happened and these are the facts. And they look at that. A lot of those people just really get into it.
And do you know who those people are?
Oh, God, I
Those
wish.
people are what we're calling millennials. They're the young people. They are the people that are just coming up and they're going, hey, this is bullshit. You know,
Right.
we're going to do this. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I know. I wish that was my experience because I do have people ask me because they know that I know some people and that we do this, and I've had a lot of people ask me what are my opinions or what do I know about this person or that person,
But
and I don't mind sitting down with somebody
but
and I'll
that's absolutely natural.
and I
Because
mean
it's just like if I want to know something about CASA or something about the judges, I'm going to go to Alex.
right. So I have sat with friends
Right.
and run through things with
But
them,
they're
and
asking, and that's my point. They are asking.
and then they just go vote a straight Republican ticket. Even though I've sat with them 3 different times and run through it again, and yeah.
Well, they were thinking when they were talking to you, but then after that, the brain shut down and says, okay, we're going on hiatus.
What I'm saying is
Yeah.
if you look at the overall picture, I believe that I'm right.
I hope you're right.
I am.
That has not been my experience.
Well,
and
I mean,
would,
but
I
honestly-
would love if that were
You
true.
need to hang
I
out with
hope
my
that it
friends
is.
But it actually, but honestly, it actually makes me feel good that at least they're asking you.
Right.
You're right.
They're
that is
going
good.
to a source of information to try to find something out.
And hey, if there's 1 out of 10 that has gone away and said, you know what, maybe I ought to think about this.
Yeah.
That's you've done something great. And this is a good point. We're going to take a quick commercial break so I can pay some bills here. And so stick with us and we'll be coming back to wrap up the show. So we'll be right back.
Ever wonder why some other guy gets all the chicks? Ever wonder why some other guy is always the life of the party? Ever wonder why some other guy is having all the fun? Ever wish you could be that other guy? Well, now you can be with the Dan DePaola trombone method.
Hi, I'm Dan DePaola, and I've been to countless parties and events, and I know what brings good times and chicks, the trombone. With my method, your calendar will never be empty again.
You'll learn to play the songs that will keep you and your friends knee-deep in good times and broads. Songs like Sir Duke, I Feel Good, Knock 3 Times, Hot Stuff, Celebration, Pick Up the Pieces, The Hustle, and of course, Tequila. For a single payment of only $49.99, you get a trombone, the method book, and an accompanying music CD. But wait, if you order in the next 15 minutes, you'll get this official Dan DePaola autographed photo absolutely free. The Dan DePaola trombone method. Create music, make friends, set the mood.
See, that didn't hurt, did it? So we've got Alex Falconi, and he is no relation to the guy from Gotham. Just had to throw that out there, right?
Right.
So, and the name of the site again is Our Nevada Judges. Is that correct?
Exactly.
.com, .org,
.com.
.com. Okay, that's pretty easy. I'll have that on the screen, so those of you who don't want to go look and find it, you can just
Click a link.
For those of you who like to click one button.
Yeah. This whole thing is fascinating, and I think that I know you're not getting any money for this. This is strictly let me back up. Are you getting any money for this? Are you taking donations or?
Yeah, there is a donation tab on the site, and I do get donations periodically.
Okay, all right. But are any of them coming from any of the judges?
There has been one.
Okay.
Yeah.
And have you identified him as a donor?
The amount was too low.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's less than $25?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. So, yeah,
I smell corruption.
I'm not sure $25 would sway me to give him a good or a bad, thumbs up.
And it was way back in 2014 too.
Oh, okay.
So there hasn't been any.
Is he still on the bench?
This particular one is on the bench, yeah.
Oh, cool. So maybe he...
Well, I mean, there's...
No. Maybe he cares about what's going on.
That was the point I was going to make.
Yeah.
And also, there's really not much they can do as far... They're only putting down information that those judges have actually created.
And there is a tab on the website if people say, hey,
Yeah.
throw the guy $5 or
It's
whatever. Every little bit helps.
Yeah.
Believe me, I know.
Yeah.
So, cool. What is it that you like most about what you've done with this site? What is the one thing that you every day when you're working with this or whenever you're working with it and you're going, this is it. This is what makes it worthwhile.
Just to see that the actual judges care and are changing the way they run their cases.
Okay.
Just from the hearings that I've been seeing the past 6 to 8 months, I've never seen them talk about, oh, this went up on appeal and this happened. I've never seen that before. They were just winging it before.
Yeah.
So,
is there a place for feedback on the website from people who are going there? They can leave their opinions or feedback, or
there's a contact form to contact me directly. Most of the people who leave feedback leave it on the Facebook, because we have a Facebook and Twitter too. Yeah.
And the Facebook is our Nevada Judges as well?
Yep.
So on the site, do you, if I go on the site, will I see people's comments?
No.
Or is that just, okay.
The comments are on the Facebook page.
Okay. But they can make comments and send them to you on the page, or?
Most of them, they can do it either way. They could email me, but most of them just go straight to the Facebook and post a comment.
Okay.
Or if they have a Twitter account, they'll reply to a tweet.
Okay.
How much feedback do you get from people in general? Or just say an average week.
It depends. So when there's not an election, typically 5 to 10 people. When there's like a week.
Okay.
It varies so much. If there's a news article on something with the
Right.
judge, all of a sudden I get 50.
Gotcha.
And then when the election comes, it's nonstop, 25, 30 a day. It's completely different.
Do you edit any of those? Do you have,
Well-
if I were to go on your website, or excuse me, on your Facebook page, and leave a comment that you thought was pretty crappy, whether I called you out or one of the judges, or, do you let that ride, or?
So Facebook will automatically filter vulgar stuff.
Right, no, I know
If
that.
it gets through that filter, I just leave it.
Okay.
I don't reply to it or delete it.
Right.
If they post their own post, it's not a group, it's a page, so it's not something everyone can see.
Gotcha.
It shows up in this small little area that I don't think anyone knows exists.
Yeah.
So I just leave
On a
those
business
two.
page, right, yeah, right, okay.
I don't know if you've ever seen the difference between a page and a group, but
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, I just find it fascinating. I told him a while back that he literally has done something that has changed the culture in this state.
Yeah.
Because judges pay attention to it. They are now bound to higher standards. You know, I mean, to their own personal standards are higher. They look at now what other judges are doing, and I just find it fascinating.
Well, it could be a great educational tool for new judges as well. I mean, going there and seeing, okay, well, these types of things are getting, you know, overturned or reversed or whatever, and so maybe that's not, you know, that doesn't align with my thinking. Maybe I need to change my thinking, or, you know, if I come up with the same kind of a situation or a similar situation, it's like precedents, you know.
It's totally it's exactly as you say, because they're getting reversed over the same things.
Yeah.
It's 5 or 6 things that the family division gets reversed over and over. You know, it's exactly like that.
And you would think they'd learn.
Well, when they don't talk to each other, when they're siloed off.
Well, and that's true. If they don't know, and they don't know that this is going on, and 10 other people have got overturned for this.
Yeah, they're not paying attention, so they trip over the same
So do you
rock.
think that and I'm not defending and I'm not slamming any of the judges at all. Do you think that a lot of what's going on in the family court system is based on ignorance?
Yes.
And not malicious intent?
100%.
It's just that they just don't know.
It's ignorance, it's preconceived notions, and it's this attitude of no one's going to really tell me anything else anyway. No one's going to tell me anything different anyway. So they become a law unto themselves. That's what ends up happening.
What do you mean by preconceived notions?
They'll have these ideas in their head of how certain things are supposed to work in families or with kids, and so based on those notions that they've developed in their own life, they'll exercise their discretion. Well, 'cause I haven't even mentioned this. So discretion is the window to ignorance, bias. That's where you see that bleed through.
Right.
When the legislature creates a statute that controls the court, they'll typically follow it with some exceptions, but where the legislature gives them wiggle room, that's where you see this stuff bleed through. And so I kind of got off track, I think. What was the original question?
No, that's fine. That's
yeah,
okay.
I mean, what sort of...
You answered the original question.
Well, as far as preconceived notions, like just an example.
So they might think, well, if a child says they want to live with this parent, then that must be the best thing. And they might not understand, you know, if there's an abuser, they can manipulate, control the child. They might say parental alienation isn't real. Other ones might say all that matters is where is the child going to be most of the time. If, dad is at work, then I should just give custody to mom. And there's case law, statutes, and rules that may or may not agree with what they think. And so when there is some kind of rule or statute and the judge does that, you can get it overturned on appeal. When there isn't, oftentimes they'll get away with it. And so this is where a lot of damage comes. And this is also, and what I mean by damage is I mean the people's perception of the courts as being fair. So when people see different decisions coming out from different departments, they feel like, what's going on? Like, there's no simple rule. It's just a crapshoot. It's totally random. That's not good. It makes people think that the system doesn't make any sense at all. And then there's other issues too that I'm not going into. But
so, I mean, we're pointing a lot of fingers at the judges, but don't you think that the attorneys on both sides are just as much at fault as the judges are?
I would say the attorneys are at fault, but not equal. I think the judges are more at fault because the judges have the power to punish the attorneys, and they should do that. The Supreme
attorneys
Court
are looking for cracks in the wall. They're looking for ways to get in and game the system because that's what attorneys do.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's the judges. To me, it's the judges.
I remember I had a lunch with the judge once, and I said, "You do realize they're trying to trick you, right?" Like, it was like
As
it
a
didn't
concept, you mean?
No, as an administrator of our Nevada judges,
okay.
I was like, it didn't even seem to dawn on this judge, that wait, the lawyers might trick me on purpose, and it was like, come on, And then there's some, that think, that non-judicial decisions are great, so like third-party, like parenting coordinators, custody evaluators and stuff, and it's like I'm hearing these arguments in favor of all these non-judicial determinations, and I'm like, so you realize you're talking yourself out of a job because we don't need any of you if that's the case.
Yeah.
We can just get rid of the entire division. And then it's like, oh wait, I didn't mean that. It's like, And then, you know, the reason I say that is because the Supreme Court has talked about this stuff. They've said you can't do this. That's why we have a system. You can't you can't kick these to other people and have them make your choices for you.
Right.
It's like, if you don't like it, just quit your job, or hopefully the citizens allows you.
Yeah. And we're kind of running out of time.
That's fine.
So, any final words? Just for this show, not final words.
No, I just wanted to say thanks for having me.
Oh,
and
listen,
hopefully
you are welcome here anytime. If you've got anything that you want to help get the word out, please get a hold of us. We'll have you in here. Whatever we can do to help what you're doing. I think it's awesome. I think we all think that. So, and you got to be pretty proud there, Dad. You know, to have a son that's doing something that is going to make things better for.
I love this kid.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Thanks. Yeah.
So, any final thoughts or anything that you want the people out there to know? And
No, I mean, I just really hope that people spread news. If you see a friend or talk to a friend and they're complaining about not having any information on judges, let them know the site exists. That's the only thing I would, like to say before I head out. Just let people know it exists.
cool.
I find it fascinating. He's got a full-time job as a software engineer, and then he maintains this site. He's on 2 panels for judges. He's a CASA.
I'm sorry, yeah, we didn't mention
panels,
that.
okay.
You're on 2 panels. What?
So the State Bar Board of Governors appointed me to the Disciplinary Committee and to the Fee Dispute Committee. So on these 2 committees, I'm able to make decisions on certain cases. So they put me on a 5-day hearing that's coming up in June. It's going to be my first. And I don't know if anyone knows how these work, but you basically will, for the Disciplinary Committee, you decide if an attorney should be suspended, disbarred, fined, reprimanded, and it's not just me. There's 2 other panelists.
Right, I'm saying that's the committee's, there.
And then for fee dispute, it's rulings on disputes between clients and their attorneys.
Gotcha.
So and I'm a lay member because I'm not an attorney, and we're kind of there as a counterweight to the attorneys. So the Board of Governors of the State Bar doesn't want attorneys ruling over attorneys without some kind of outside presence, and so that's what we fill.
How do you get appointed to that?
So I got invited to sign up for the Fee Dispute Committee, and when I signed up, they read my application, and then they asked me to please go on to the disciplinary instead. So that was because they don't have enough lay members, and there's a shortage. Aside from that, I'm not sure how it can be done. I mean, maybe you could just call and ask or something. I've never.
There's a long story that I really don't have time to go into because we're at the end of the show, but the bottom line is that he's had 4 cases go to the Nevada Supreme Court, and he's won all 4 of them, and he's not an attorney. So,
also got published.
yes,
So I didn't mention
also,
this.
Right. He also got published. So all the judges know him. He's well known throughout the state because I know a whole bunch of attorneys that have lived, been attorneys for 30, 40 years, and they've never gone to the Supreme Court. Never won a case. So.
Awesome.
I don't think they all know me, but maybe half.
Well, one quick question. I'm going to throw this out there. I think I know I already know the answer, but the family court system, there has been a number of people who have suggested that maybe that become a trial by jury situation. My thoughts are that the people that are appearing in family court system are not accused of any crime.
Right.
I mean, while they're in there, they may be accused of a crime, but that has nothing to do with why they're there. So how do you, I could see a tribunal, like a committee type thing, if you're not happy with the judges, but it just
No, I don't think that's a solution. No. In fact,
I don't think it could work. I don't
Like
think
more
we
of
can
a
afford it.
professional
it would make it
jury?
worse.
I agree. I think it would make it
when
even
you have
worse.
when you have high conflict child custody litigants and abusers, they're masters at manipulating.
You bet.
So the more attack surfaces you offer them, the more opportunities they have to dupe someone.
Yep.
So you want to focus on the bottleneck and just have one person in charge in these types of cases, and that's the judge. There's also no constitutional right to a jury. I don't know why some people think there is.
I know.
Because it's not a criminal case, and it's a chancery
But
suit.
that's
It's an
my
equity.
point.
Yeah.
It's not
So-
a criminal case.
Exactly.
And if it was a criminal case, then
You get a jury.
you are required.
And then the last thing is, if you don't like the judges having so much discretion, because what they're saying, what these groups are saying is we need jury or somebody else to make these findings because there's too much discretion and they make unfair decisions.
Right.
If you don't like the discretion, take it away. The legislature can create statutes that tighten and tighten and tighten the control the judges have, and they've been doing this.
Right.
They've already done it with relocation. They've done it with joint custody. They have made a statute that says you must explain your decision. They didn't have that law before, and now decisions get reversed. because judges don't explain their decision. They award primary custody without following the law. And so if you want to see more justice, you need to get rid of all that discretion and cut it down, minimize it. You can't eliminate all of it, but that's the solution. And then
Step in the right direction.
and then people might be more willing to appeal if they know that they can get a decision reversed. I think if people realize they have a chance of winning, they'll be more likely to do it.
Yeah.
But right now, with so much discretion, all this murkiness, it's less likely, and nobody wants to spend all that money for a maybe.
Right. Well, and the advice that I hear from litigants that have gone through the family court system is that at all costs avoid the family court system. and you know that's a shame that we've come to that.
It's a shame because what it does is it benefits the person who doesn't use the system to control the other and the child.
Right.
So a lot of people think that since I was in a high conflict case, my ex must have been filing a lot of papers. It's actually not true. She hardly filed anything. I was the one filing everything. So people who abuse the system don't necessarily have to be the ones filing all the papers.
Right.
They can do a tremendous amount of damage to the child outside of the boundaries of the system, and the only thing there to protect the child is the system.
Right.
And that's what had to happen in this case. And I have some of my viewers on my YouTube channel, at least 2, I've already done videos on, who did the exact same thing I did, and now their child is safe.
And I'm sorry, we didn't mention, you did mention it, but is that
Oh.
also our Nevada judges?
No, the YouTube channel is called The Proper Person.
The proper person?
Yeah, and that's a play on the phrase appearing in proper person.
Right.
So people
Okay.
who don't,
All right, well, I'm sorry, but we just,
that was good.
like Dirk and I were talking earlier, this show needs to be about 14 hours long every day. But Alex, thank you so
Thank
much.
you. It was good to
and we
come on.
we
Good to
really
meet you.
sincerely
Meet you.
mean that. Anything that you've got, if we can help, please let us know. We're here for you.
All right.
And any final words, Bianca?
Why do you say my name like that? No, but I have to pee so bad.
Okay. On that note,
Yes.
we're gonna take a bathroom break till next week. So thank you all, Dirk. Thanks again. And I, like I said, when you mentioned bringing Alex on, I just blew me away because I had been to the site. So thank you very much. So anyway, everybody, thanks a lot, man, and just
Thanks,
try
guys.
to do better, huh?
Right?
Thank
Okay.
you.
Later.